Hello and good evening. My name is Richard Miller, and welcome to Never Not Here. And as some of you may know, we travel every once in a while. And this weekend we're just finishing up in West Virginia, TAT, Truth and Transmission. An amazing group with a cohesion of many, many years, several decades. And we heard from maybe 6 people. And it's kind of like, well, I'm going to do a couple of talks with a few of them. And I don't know whether it's a tie-up or wrap-up, or just want to introduce you a little bit deeper to some of the people that we heard from. And one of those is Mike Connors. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Richard.
Probably I'm a bit envious that you have somehow a group of people that are patient with each other. And maybe it doesn't always seem that way, but from outside it looks like people that have known each other for 20 years or more and feel a solidarity and have something in common with them and share a certain feeling. I mean, I think that's very rare in my world anyhow. You really are a blessing among yourselves.
Yeah. Well, I think this is an interesting group. Is that this is a group of people that are interested in truth, and that's not common. You know, what is the ultimate truth? So they have there's a sincerity and an earnestness that is not found in other groups. Most groups are superficial social things, and this is not as much a social group. This is a self-inquiry, dedicated self-inquiry group. It's very, very rare.
It's like a long haul, not a quick fix. And so you're
well,
friends for life, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we've got something in common that is uncommon. It's this search for truth. And people are sharing their experiences either on the way or as a result of finding the truth. So I find this group very interesting. Very more, at least intellectually or philosophically closer. I feel closer to them than I do to friends and family, because friends and family aren't interested in the truth. They're, just living their lives. And, so this group has a little deeper purpose, and I connect with it a little deeper because it's deeper in me than the surface too. Very interesting. Very, very rare.
Very rare. And, you said sharing their discoveries.
Yeah.
And so then it's just, it's even a mix-up of who's the mentor and who's the mentee, if there is such a word as that. And
yeah, right.
It's a co-mentoring that is really synergistic and really supports that point that investigation is occurring around. And I would like to, the whole idea of Never Not Here and our show and a community building that we try to do by having people share on our website, or at least the opportunity for them. And not so many of them choose to speak or to share. But and many, many more listen and partake, but it's nothing like what you have. So that's my envy, right?
Yeah. Well, you say you. I'm really. I don't think that. I just came to TAT maybe 10 years ago. TAT's been around for. Well, Richards began. I guess they began in the 70s, with TAT. Richard's awakening occurred in the 50s, and he took a long time for him to find anybody that would listen to him. But in the 70s, this spiritual quest became a little more popular, and he found himself speaking at universities, and eventually started in the 70s this group out here at his farm. And they've been around for a long time. I came to TAT 10 years ago, and Richard Rose was already out of the picture. He was in a nursing home, being cared for Alzheimer's. And I met the body of Richard Rose. He came home for Thanksgiving dinner one November, and I was here, and I had dinner with him. And he looked like Richard Rose, was up and walking around, but he was talking to phantoms in his head and wasn't really relating to what was going on around him at the time. So I'm not a disciple of Richard Rose. I came in as an outsider, and I'm still somewhat of an outsider. You know, the core group of people is still here, and they had many years with Richard Rose and grew up. A lot of them were very young when they came here, and they grew up with Richard Rose. So,
when you met Richard in his afflicted state,
yeah,
could you feel an open-heartedness that was a result of a certain freedom or a past freedom? Or, I mean, the opening was...
There was no way to know. Like I said, he looked fine, and he walked around, and he was talking, but he was not talking to anybody who was in front of him. He was not holding on a conversation with anybody. He was talking to people in his mind, you know, memories or whatever he was talking to. So, like I said, I met the body of Richard Rose. I really didn't have much feeling about him at all. He seemed cheerful. He seemed okay. I mean, he was not aggressive or belligerent or sad or anything like that. He seemed very normal. Just could not really connect with him. But he smiled, and I looked at him at one point across the table and smiled at him, and he smiled back. So, but that's as much connection as we had. You know, we ate dinner together, his body and my body, you know, sitting across the table. So I feel a kinship with these people because they're all seekers after truth, and we've got a lot in common, but I don't really feel like a TAT person.
Or a foundation of this. But I mean, it's so beautiful that somehow you came in and were embraced.
More or less, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the reason I came here was because I didn't have anybody, at the time, I didn't have anybody to share my experience with. And I heard about the TAT group through my brother who had met some people from here. And we decided to come up together and to see what I wanted to see what it was all about, and just kind of connect with other people on the spiritual path, or whatever you want to call it. And I've enjoyed it a lot, and I've got a lot out of it myself, you know. And they've given me an opportunity to tell my story and give talks, which has been fun and interesting, and to help. I've been grateful to have an opportunity to help people along the path who are still, you know, following in the same path that I walked. So that's been good.
I appreciated your talk very much, and in a way, if you look at images of of one's memory, at least mine, and then kind of like an idea of how all our acquaintances, my acquaintances, are. I mean, it seems to be so well bred into our culture that something is wrong with this moment. And it could be use a little fix-up, something, whatever's happening, applying ourselves to that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be surely improved. And that's so pervasive that it must be a pathology because not many people really give that a break, and say, well, maybe it's okay now for a moment. Oh, no, there's always some judgment or some plan or some dissatisfaction or some automatic departure, it seems like, what's the departure? The departure is our attention. Our attention goes to how we could manipulate. And that's always, in a way, tiring and some kind of an effort.
It's my magic word, effort.
Yeah.
That's been the whole message that I've had for TAT and at TAT and through TAT is talking about effort and how effort is part of the problem. So I think what I have brought the TAT is effortlessness, the concept of effortlessness. I'm sure it was here before, but I've been banging the kettle of effortlessness since I got here, and so.
But even tonight, I think, today, some have talked about, yes, that Richard Rose in the end said there's nothing to do and there's no doer and so on. But that was like, 3% of his time was given to that statement, and 97% of his time was given to the statement that, get serious, whatever that means.
There's more than get serious. I think everybody here is serious, and get serious or earnest is a prerequisite for being on the path. If you're really serious about waking up, you've got to earnestly be serious.
Well, I would like to draw one distinction. Let's make a distinction between serious and earnest, because I think serious is part of earnest is just an honesty.
It's more than honesty. Yeah, otherwise it would just be called honesty. There's a kind of an openness and a seekingness to earnestness. It's almost a childlike quality to earnestness. People can be scrupulously honest and yet not be earnest.
All right, okay.
It takes a sincerity, and honesty.
There you go. I love sincere.
Sincerity and honesty.
See, sincere is a word I like, but
Yeah.
somehow serious means needy. To me.
Yeah, it can be. You can be serious and be very superficial, whereas being earnest is deeper. It's almost more of a full.
Earnest and sincere is very deep.
Yeah, very deeper. Yeah, more. Yeah, right. And being vulnerable.
Yeah.
All of those things. Whereas, yeah.
Vulnerable. Sometimes vulnerable is mistaken because so many people think vulnerable means you have to be hurt. And I have to be hurt in order to really...
you have to be able to be willing to risk being hurt.
Risk,
yeah,
right.
Being trusted.
Effortlessness is not very well understood. I think it could be talked about a little bit longer than just saying the word, and I know you say it again and again. You said you've been beating that bell for TAT, and I don't think it's really understood because many people take it to mean doing nothing, which is like, to me, it's saying no. Doing nothing means to say no. And effortlessness has nothing to do with no.
Yeah, I think often it's confused with being passive and being unwilling to act or being lazy. I've been accused of promoting that too. Is that the resistance I get to the word effortlessness is from people who are really think that they're putting out a lot of effort, that they feel like they're putting out a lot of effort, and something you said earlier was really good. People have been putting out effort and working at this for a long. There's a lot of people in spiritual groups who have been at it for 30 years or 40 years, and they have put out a lot of effort, and they're still putting out effort. And they're getting nowhere. And the reason is that effort is an illusion. It's a delusion. It's connected with the I. There's an imaginary I inhabiting the body that is putting out effort, that is applying its own free will in an effort to accomplish something. And it's a total delusion, but it's not recognized because it's so common. Everybody thinks that there's an I in there, that they are in their body and they're putting out effort through their own will. It's the principal barrier to real self-realization. The self-realized realize there is nobody in there. And there's nobody in there who's putting out any effort, that everything happens spontaneously and automatically of its own accord. Thoughts come of their own accord, feelings come of their own accord. People make decisions and remember things and act spontaneously and automatically. And yet, all of those thoughts and feelings and spontaneous actions are attributed to the will as being willful actions of some imaginary character who inhabits the body. So, because it's the principal barrier to self-realization, I keep coming back to it and trying to reminding people and help them to understand that all of their thoughts and feelings and actions are spontaneous and automatic. So, all of my talks have been about effortlessness. And my analogy is children, watching children. People say, well, you have to put out effort. You don't do anything if you don't put out effort. And that's a different kind of, they mean something else. Effortlessness can be very energetic and very active, very dynamic, very forceful, and yet it comes spontaneously and automatically, then it's effortless. Like children playing or putting out tremendous amount of effort.
Energy.
Putting out a tremendous amount of energy. Yeah, a lot of energy. But it's all spontaneous and automatic, and it just comes naturally from their nature.
It's just coming out of their interest or their curiosity or their,
It just comes from what they are and who they are. They just perform action without will. They're not acting volitionally. They're children. So they run and they play and they scream and they have fun. For them, this is effortless. Effort for them would be to come inside and sit quietly by themselves. That would be painful. Take a lot of effort for them to sit there quietly. And that's what I mean by effortless, that this whole path is a path through effortlessness. It's recognizing that effort is not working. Effort is well, I guess that's it. People have been working at this for 30 or 40 years and putting a lot of effort into it and getting nowhere. The solution, the obvious next step to do is, well, stop putting out that effort. It's not working. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and it's not working, why are you doing it? So let's try being effortless. And I look around at all the people who have awakened, all the people of historical importance who have become enlightened or awakened, all became awakened when they surrendered. So I ask people, well, what were all the people who woke up doing at the moment of their awakening? Were they putting out a lot of effort? Were they working their asses off? No, they had given up, they were surrendered, they had let go, they had turned their will over to God, whatever you want to call it.
I think you had said that it had taken you by surprise.
Well, it was what it was
words.
Took me by surprise. I was very surprised when the I that I thought I was all my life just ceased to be. That was a surprise. I didn't expect that. It was very pleasant. It was good. I understood immediately that was right. But it was a surprise.
Many people share a suffering path, and they're saying that every time that there was a hint that the eye, a chink of the eye fell out, it was painful and it was a ripping, and yet you're saying that it was actually a relief.
Yeah, for me it was very gentle. It was because it was my path was effortless. I was practicing an effortless meditation, and I was practicing letting go of control, practicing letting go in general. And so when the I disappeared, it wasn't wrenched from me. I had been letting go of it for quite a while. And one day I realized there's nobody in there. So it was that gentle. Something that had never been there disappeared. And
Disappeared from your
from my awareness. There's
awareness, or
I was
even
aware
a thought
that
pattern.
I was,
but I mean,
right.
and so then it disappeared, and you just went, oh,
yeah,
oh. So soft.
yeah. Nice.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, just one day I realized I'm empty. I feel very hollow, spacious, clear. I adopted the nickname Void because of that. I just felt void, but it was pleasant, and it was not traumatic. It was not a wrenching at all. I've heard other people say that.
When we do something from the outside, in other words, we read or get some advice, or there's a pattern that we're trying to fulfill or fit ourselves into, and that's a curriculum in school. That's so many things, and we really don't know what our interest is because it's never been ignited at a certain point. Like you said, when we're children, it is ignited because everything we're interested in. But then, whatever the process is of suppressing that, and then to rediscover what is our interest. So we're doing something from outside, trying to fulfill a model, and some part of us resents that. And even if we don't know that we resent it, that's kind of like our lethargy or like our resistance. And so then, when we're told to be disciplined and work through that resistance, that must be the definition of effort. That when we're working uphill or paddling upstream in a way that, hey, this is not who I am, or this is not my, authentic to me, and I'm trying to fulfill this thing, and it's getting tiring to try to be a good
it's
doctor.
painful.
Yeah, there's a pain in there, even if it's subconscious. There's some resentment or pain that says, that knows, something knows, right?
Yeah, even effort is effortless when it comes down to it. All the effort that we apply feel like it's our own effort, but we're doing something that's painful to us, although it is effortless. But we've used the word effort to connote that. I think what you're describing is accurate. When we have to act, when we feel compelled to act in a way that's not natural to us, it feels like it takes an effort for us to perform that action.
Nobody
it's
outside
painful.
of us is making us do it.
Right.
We're the worst taskmaster, and we've been kind of brainwashed and subconsciously put that all down underneath there, and it's running us. And it's running us with a high anxiety level and a high. It's probably very damaging to our health that we're just plowing through this kind of like resentment and resistance, and not understanding what it is.
But we're doing it anyway out of a sense of obligation, although this is not what I want to do, but I feel compelled to, I have to.
And worse than that, we're judging ourselves for having the resistance and saying, I really shouldn't have this, and I
think what happens after a while, people forget that it's not their, or they just discount that this is not my desire. You can't do what you want. You have to do what you have to do.
They buy into the program.
They buy into the program, and it's painful. And the whole life is painful, and the whole life feels like it takes a lot of effort. It's hard to get up in the morning. It's hard to put one foot in front of the other. It's hard to do all these things that are not natural to us. And I think the word effort is the word used to describe that pain. But there really is no effort involved. There's no...
Even in that, you mean?
Even in that, yeah.
We just make it painful, right?
It's painful, and we
That's
don't
the
like it.
frosting we put on the damn cake.
We
right?
don't like it what we're doing, but it's still effortless. But it feels effortful. Yeah. There is no such thing as really putting out effort. One of the bombs that I dropped in the presentation yesterday was that there is no such thing as free will. That none of us acts by free will, and none of us puts out any effort. But we have the illusion of acting by free will, and we have the illusion of putting out effort, which creates this imaginary I, then, who is the one that has free will and the one who does put out the effort. So
that's the beneficiary of the suffering, is we get to have an I.
well, we get to fit in. We get to not be kicked out of the tribe.
The I tribe.
We survive. Society doesn't kick us to the outskirts where we die from the cold and the lack of food. So we get the benefits of society by fitting in, and the fitting in is having an I that is putting out effort and has a self-will. Although it robs us of our true nature, which is that there is no I in there. We are omnipresent. We are a natural expression of the omnipresent absolute, and we act spontaneously and automatically and effortlessly. And that's the goal of waking up and being self-realized, is that we wake up from the delusion of being a separate person acting by its own self-effort, and we wake up to being just an expression of the omnipresent, and our lives become effortless and joyful and spontaneous and a joy every day rather than a burden and a difficulty.
We think we have to earn that joy.
We think we have to earn it.
That's the effort program, right?
Yeah, right. We have to earn it. We
then
have to be worthy of it.
Waiting. In other words, if we go right to joy, something is awry. We're not really going to cover all the bases.
We've cheated.
We cheated, yeah. So then we're just faking ourselves. And we think we'll pay when we die because we didn't really go through all the numbers.
That's an interesting thing.
We just took a shortcut and we just said, okay, let's have joy first.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that. They say, and I had the same thing too as a kid. I thought, when I had a happy day, when I was joyful and everything was good, I thought, uh-oh, something bad's going to come of this.
Right?
Yeah, I'm happy and joyful. God's going to punish me for being happy and joyful. But actually, being happy and joyful and loving and peaceful is the way we should be all the time. That's our natural state. It's odd that we've created a world in which we're happy and joyful and peaceful is threatening to us.
Right. No kidding.
Yeah.
Right.
What an ironic twist to things, you know.
And somehow we're programmed into like a reverse, you know. Somehow we're programmed into believing, denying what could be our birthright. You know, I don't even have to say it's our nature, like I know, but I mean, it might be our birthright, or I mean, certainly a joyful moment should come out of a joyful moment. Another joyful moment should come out of it, right? Or could very easily. Whereas how is a joyful moment going to come out of an anxious moment? I mean, it doesn't really ever, there's never a turning point. It's actually a whole different context. And so that makes just sense, logical sense like that. Or, you know, that I'm more effective when I'm joyful, you know, because my energy's not going into the friction. You know, and maybe this is one that you have a background in, that some yogic teachers speak that we don't have a vehicle that can contain joy or can contain the energy of something about the energy of happiness and love is I mean, yogis are always talking about building your capacity for energy, and it seems like it's a lot easier to have a capacity for hate than it is for love. I mean, many more people are. It seems like.
I haven't heard that expression, building a capacity for energy. But I think it's that's this feeling that we have to earn love, and that we have to earn joy, and we have to earn peace. I don't know where that came from. Certainly there are religions that preach that you know, life is suffering and that you have to earn your way out of it.
By behaving some kind of tenets, right? In other words, that's kind of like a behavior model. So then you have to follow certain
Yeah, maybe it's a good way to control people by telling them that they have to earn everything. But what I've discovered is that when I accept people as they are, I feel love spontaneously. I don't. It doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing or how they're doing it. You know, they could. Doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with that. When I accept the people as they are, I feel love. When I accept the world the way it is, I feel joy. When I accept myself as I am, I feel all those things. I feel love, peace, and joy. So to me, all those things are free. As actually, in my path, as I was waking up, the first time I felt joy, it was for no reason at all. Just one day I realized I feel joy. I'd been practicing letting go for a long time, and I had been feeling my feelings, and I had been letting go of control. And one day I felt joy. And my first response to that was to be angry. I thought, this is not right. I'm feeling joy for absolutely no reason. It felt wrong some way. I mean, I was joyful, but at the same time, there was another thing that said, this is wrong. This is not right. This doesn't make sense. This is joy for no reason. Well, it wasn't long after that I realized that joy is joy. And joy is fun, is good to have, whether there's any reason or not. And so I became comfortable with the idea that I could feel joy for no reason. But at first, it kind of pissed me off. And part of that was that I felt that I'd been lied to my whole life also. People had told me that, I mean, I grew up being joyful was one of the reasons why I would get brought back into the house and made to sit quietly in the living room while everybody else was out running and screaming in the yard, you know. So feeling joy was something you didn't want to do because you'd be stopped. But our whole culture is like that, you know. The truth is...
Put the lid on. But
puts the lid on,
in a way, that's what I was saying, that somehow, whether it's just the individual or whether it's the people surrounding, are saying they can't hold the energy of joy. Let's put the lid on it.
Yeah, it's not that. I don't know where it started, but society, in its efforts to protect and promote itself, has got these ideas, and one of the ideas, a lot was with Christianity especially, is that love, peace, and joy they have to be earned, and somehow or another you should feel guilty for feeling love, peace, and joy. Bizarre.
So it's reserved for the netherworld, for
I guess
the
so. Yes,
second
when
coming
you,
or something
right.
like that, right?
You know, like today, pie in the sky when you die.
Right.
When you die and you go to heaven, well, then you can feel love, peace, and joy. But until
right.
then,
If you feel it already now, nobody's going to go to heaven. You know, they
veil
say,
of
hey,
suffering, and
here.
you better suffer along with the rest of us to fit in. Very, very bizarre. But comes down to it, our birthright is to live a life of spontaneous joy and peace and love at all times, in a state of freedom. It's just doesn't sound right.
Right.
But it's right. That's right.
So, you know, what comes to me is that if you're joyful, there's really nothing to do to celebrate it. I mean, if you got some problem and you're anxious about it, you need to fix it, or you think you need to fix it. And so then you're on your own concepts. You're on a train of concepts, and you're trying to, and one thought leads to another, and it's going to go kind of down the golden pathway of whatever that so-called problem is. But if you're joyful right now, and there's really nothing to do, so then there's really no need to detach yourself from this moment. And what comes out of that is presence. You know, you allow yourself to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy, and it seems to me that in my life, the only time I've ever really grown or seen or discovered was when I was present. And so that the joy is like the animus of growth, both of health too, maybe health and growth in consciousness and growth in community and.
I think joy, it's not, well, I guess you could use the word growth. Well, connecting joy with growth, I think it's necessary. I think it's feeling joy.
I would just say enjoy there's nothing to do because here it is.
Yeah,
It's here now. And so then
it
if there's
is.
nothing to do, I don't have to have a concept and I don't have to go and take my attention away from this moment. And I equated that to presence. And presence seems to be a place where knowing comes from, understanding comes from, being here. Just something new can come because
It comes from to me. It comes from acceptance, accepting things as they are, letting everything be just the way it is, not expecting things to be different than the way they are. That it's kind of the old aphorism that if you want what you've got, then you've got what you want. Letting things be the way they are, things are the way they are. So there's, that to me, that's
that
joy.
allows joyfulness.
Joyfulness is the natural response, I think, to the nervous system. When the nervous system accepts everything as it is, it feels joy and peace and love. But these are the ground state of the nervous system. I think the nervous system in its evolution, when it begins to emote, the first things it emotes are peace. Peace is the ground state of emoting, and joy and love are all various natural emanations of the capacity for emotion. And later on, somehow or another, we got those things associated as they became rewards for good behavior. You will feel love I will feel love for you if you act the way I expect you to. If you do what I want, I will love you. So we restrict those things to make them rewards. To me, it sounds like a really good way to control people. So this is the way society manipulates its members. And it kind of makes sense, and maybe it's got a real survival purpose, but it's not. It's a really bad trade to trade love and peace and joy for a little bit of bread and circuses in society, And the whole purpose of being on the path to liberation is to be liberated from that kind of bondage and to rediscover our rightful place in the universe, and that is to be people, naturally spontaneous people who live lives of love, peace, and joy. And it's just this is heaven on earth under those conditions. Heaven's not someplace that you go when you die. Heaven is right here if you're living spontaneously and naturally a life of love and peace and joy. It sounds ridiculous from society's point of view, but this is the fact.
In the beginning of the conversation, we were starting to talk about confusion about what is effortlessness.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were saying some people think it's just no, or don't do anything, or laziness, or myriad of things. And I was just thinking that this territory that we're describing of joy, love and peace and joy is actually the territory of knowing effortlessness, because action can be intense. And it just promotes more love and peace and joy,
Mm-hmm.
And how can that be an effort?
Right.
And then, you can't even too much claim doership there. Without, I guess effortlessness is how you claim doership. I mean, effort.
Effort. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, at least it's a word we use to describe doership. I don't know. This is something I haven't really fully answered. What I've had people ask me, well, what is effort? Well, the dictionary definition is the conscious application of mental or physical power. Well, okay, but what is consciously
But you didn't
applying?
say energy, you said power. So power almost means it almost means to me that power is measured by moving something like another force, a contrary force. And we were talking about effort being measured against resistance.
Yeah, what is power? Power is force over time or something like that. So maybe it's a conscious application of mental or physical power, or a conscious application of mental or physical force. I don't know what it is, but there's this idea of conscious application of mental or physical force. Deliberation, volition, will. And I think these are all concepts that, like, should. We say, oh, somebody should do something. Well, what the heck does that mean? They should do something. They do it or they don't do it. Who the heck invented the word should? And who invented the word effort? Who invented the word volition? I mean, those people were the enemy.
Conscious application kind of means that the consciousness, to me, when it's in a dictionary, kind of means consciousness is the forerunner, the causal. Conscious application means we had the conscious idea and then we applied. Even the word, maybe just because the words come one after the other, but consciousness doesn't necessarily mean it's causative. It just means we see it happening. So that.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. Somehow or another, there was a big mistake made way back when, somehow, somewhere. People living in a state of love, peace, and joy, somebody came around and said, should, and effort.
Should, could.
You should apply effort.
Right.
You should try harder.
Okay, but I mean, it's just logical because, I mean, almost everyone that's pointing is saying that this moment is all there is, number one, and that what you seek is right here and who you are. And then how can you possibly say that takes effort? That has to take stopping your efforts.
Right.
And it seems so clear to me, but I mean, so many people go so long.
It's clear to you and it's clear to me, but it's not clear to most people. It's a sad state, but that's exactly it. This is the moment. The world is the way it is. Everything is fine, just like it is.
We don't even have to say that, right? Because it's fine in what? Fine.
It's perfect the way it is.
Yeah. Maybe without those words, it would be better. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And anything more perfect isn't. I mean, and that's a real realization.
Yeah, right. The world is the way it is. We are the way we are. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be fixed.
That's where people don't agree, see? Because then they're talking from another perspective. They're talking from, so then that's a confusion. It washes down and they think it should be perfect. Well, it is perfect. I don't really get that, I mean, they don't really get that. Could there be another way to say that? I don't know. I don't think many people get that.
Yeah.
The world is the way it is. And
the world is the way it is.
You can even just say it's a reflection of me. It's what consciousness is up to in this moment. And I'm a part of it. So then it kind of means that it's my science project to investigate that, right? My little facet of the diamond called apparent individuality gets to work on the great science project of
just a big game. It's just a big game. I like one of the first things that that got my attention on this path was early on when I heard the word omnipresent, that God was omnipresent. And we talk about the omnipresent absolute. And this word omnipresent pretty much tells the whole story and solves the whole problem. If something is omnipresent, then it's everywhere, which means that there's no place that it's not, which means that anywhere you look, that's what you find, which means that that's all there is.
But at the same time, we're saying there's no space and time. So then omnipresent just refers to here.
Yeah. So, and it's all there is. And so there's nothing to be found. You can't find it because it's everywhere.
And there's no place it ain't.
No place it's not, exactly. And it's all powerful because it's all there is. It's what's not doing anything.
So
there's nothing else going
power,
on.
Right?
Right. And if it's omnipresent and that's all there is, that's what we are. We can't be separate from it. And if it's omnipresent and it's all there is, it's perfect, like it is.
Well, and there can be no imperfection because there's nothing else.
And there's nothing to find and nothing to accomplish because omnipresence is all there is. And so this whole quest for enlightenment, as long as you're questing, you're not going to be finding it because you're busy questing. But if you admit that, if you can recognize that it's omnipresent, then you've already got it.
So it's just under the quest, right? If you pick up the rug there.
It's like the joke about the person out walking, taking a walk one evening, and they find somebody under a streetlight on their hands and knees looking in the grass for something. And he says, well, you're looking for something? Can I help you? And he said, yes, I dropped my keys. So the passerby gets down, and they're both looking, and they look for a while, and the passerby says, we have checked every blade of grass here, and there are no keys. Are you sure you dropped it here? And the person says, well, no, I dropped it over there, pointing over into the shadows, but the light's better over here. So this is what the quest is like. We're looking for something that is right here, but we're looking for it. And the very act of looking for it means
so
we're not.
The effort is better here in the quest.
The effort's better here.
The effort's better in the quest.
I'm going to put the effort over here because the light's better here.
Because there's no effort where I drop my wholeness.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, I find that the whole, just the word, if a person can really be earnest and honest about the word omnipresent. I mean, you read the Bible and there's all kinds of things in the Bible, all kinds of fun stories and all this stuff. But somewhere in there it says God is omnipresent. That should be enough right there. That pretty much tells the whole story. If you take the rest of the Bible and throw it away, keep that part that says God is omnipresent. I can figure out the rest for myself, So that's the quest. We're looking for something that is right here. And we're trying to find ourselves, which is right here. We're trying to find the truth, which is right here. It's interesting, isn't it?
It's amazing. But somehow, teachers point, presenters present, mm-hmm. and the game goes on. Mm-hmm. And the story doesn't deconstruct. The story that I'm needy, or the story that I'm unloved, or searching for love. We heard them tonight. Mm-hmm. And somehow we say these things, and yet I guess we know that they're not accepted. It's not effective.
I think a lot of it comes down to socialization, culture. We act the way we do, and we have this self-image because of culture. We're hypnotized by our culture. We're social animals. We have to fit in, and society is.
It's not even volitional because we said there's no effort and no doer. So then it's just we live in. Sometimes I say we live in a consciousness soup, and we're the expression of that. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a way where we can not turn that way, not be tempted to follow that trail. But it's like a siren, and Ulysses is tied to the mast of the boat and wanting to go toward his unworthiness, right? And somehow, how does he not go? Just turns his back on it and said, I've seen you before. I don't, what happens? Old temptations in our life, in our everyday life. We might have been tempted to go out to the bar and have a drink and stuff, and now we give that up. We don't go with that. Okay, a thought comes to us, and the thought is replete with a feeling that I'm in the midst of effort, and that this is a hard life, and that I need a lot. And these thoughts and feelings are there, and somehow they regenerate themselves, and we're tempted. We follow them and just say, oh, that thought will lead to this thought, and that thought will lead to that thought, and this feeling will lead to that. And boy, I'm blue. And and we can't diffuse that. And it's dead. It's something that came out of the past. It's not alive. Right now is alive. But yet the dead thing is so tempting that we want to go there. Right? I mean, we're generating that thing. The dead thing, our abused childhood, has got no power. How can it have power? It's only a thought, a figment. We point to these things. We share these things. How can it? Can't we just pound on some heads or something, or what's it take?
I think because we're social animals, we are very susceptible to other people's opinions. We are hypnotizable. We hypnotize ourselves, but we say we become hypnotized by society. And we have this compulsion to fit in and fulfill other people's expectations of us. And so now why society expects us to be, this is a big mystery. I don't have an answer for why society is the way it is, but it is delusional. And the mold that it wants us to fit in is unreal and unrealistic and painful. But we're compelled to do it because we're social animals. I think it takes a very brave person to say, this life is not fulfilling. I am not happy. There's something missing here. I want more, and to be willing to risk public censure, to be willing to be misunderstood or not understood by family and friends, and go in a different direction than society is dictating. It takes a lot of courage and maybe desperation. So to begin this quest is to go kind of against the current, the social current, and to find the current, the natural current, and to get into that current.
The natural for me, right?
Well, the natural current for all of us, really.
Right. I think now you're talking. I mean, you're really talking to the general public now, and you're talking something really valuable, what it takes. You're saying step one is a certain willingness just to be your own man. And then, take a risk.
Step one is to admit, I'm not happy. And I'm willing to, and I would like to be happy, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And if this means stepping outside the herd and walking off in a different direction, okay, I'll do that. And yes, society has a current that's taking us one way, and it's not fulfilling. And we have to be able to, and willing and able to step out of that current and try to find a current that leads it. And thank goodness it's there. And thank goodness that current carries us along without any effort. And as a matter of fact, we have to drop effort to step into that current. And when we do drop effort and step into that current carries us to what's called enlightenment or fulfillment. It carries us to our true self and the fulfillment of our desire.
In a way, you said step out, and it almost sounds like you might be leaving your family and stuff. And people might be surprised. But I would say that if somehow you're fulfilled, if I'm fulfilled means I am able to live in happiness, peace, and joy. And somehow that has to rub off on my children, my family, maybe belatedly. I don't know. I think that's the highest service I can do for those around me.
Yeah, right. Well, I agree. But I found that my old friends don't talk to me anymore. I stepped out of the social current, and for a while there, they kept inviting me to the dinner parties, but they didn't talk to me anymore. So,
God, I don't know. Somebody just told me that my high school has got the 50th reunion for my class. I've never gone to one of them.
I haven't either, right? So, but I think, the literature is filled with stories of accounts of people who they got on this path, and they had, and in Hinduism, it's almost tradition that a guy gets to be 50 years old and he puts on his robe and grabs his begging bowl and he leaves home, and he leaves his family behind.
Right, that's in the traditions.
It's in the tradition, and so I think this is kind of a symbolic. You have to step out of the social current to get into the real current, find the real current. Now, if you've got a family and you've got children and all that, they will benefit from you stepping out of the current and becoming. If Dad all of a sudden becomes happy and joyful and peaceful, that's going to help them. But it may be embarrassing to his wife,
Somehow, maybe you have to admit your mortality, because at a certain age, then I started to really question. Like, I was shocked that that I turned that age, and I thought, no, how come? How did it go so fast? How am I up here? And then I started getting damn nervous,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking like something has got to be different than this. I could be doing the same thing as fast as this went by, and it'll be another 10 or 20 down the road, and I'll be saying the same question. And that's when I started to really be willing to step out of the stream.
And the stream, interestingly enough, the stream is a stream of effort. The social stream is a stream of effort. It takes effort to be in society and to do what society wants. It doesn't really take effort, but we're going to use that word. It takes effort. And stepping out of that stream means dropping effort. The only way to get out of that stream is to drop effort. And so
then there's drop activities that you have a resistance to, perhaps.
Well, just drop all effort. Drop all effort to think. Drop all effort to just drop all effort. Practice effortlessness every day, a couple of times a day. I advocate the way to practice letting go of control and effort is in meditation. Simple. Sit down, close your eyes, let go of control for 20 minutes twice a day. Good practice. And that practice in being effortless gets us out of the stream right away. Everybody says, you have to, you have nothing ventured, nothing gained. You have to put out 110%. Quitters never win and winners never quit. And nose to the grindstone and all that crap. And what it comes down to is to step out of the stream is to stop all that, let go of control, do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. Instead of perfecting control, let go of control. That puts us out of the stream for 20 minutes twice a day. And that being out of the stream gradually creeps into the parts in between the meditation. And other activities become effortless and spontaneous. And before you know it, life is effortless and spontaneous because we've stepped into the other stream. We've stepped into the real stream. And we're just carried along by it. And the result is we're our true self. The true self really, there is no effort. All that effortful stream is all a fabrication, nonsense, bullshit. You can edit that out. And
the effortless meditation Mike was talking about is on our site right next to this one probably. So it's really clear. We really did a couple of practice runs and it was clear exactly how that can. What the cycle of it is. There's kind of a cycle where you go through a cycle. We don't really need to explain it now because that's very clear in your talk. I think we have to beat this drum. You're beating this drum, you say, but I mean, we have to explain what it means, because I think it's just, I think we have done a really good job in clearing things up, and
well, thank you,
hopefully
Richard.
this will get many, many views and much
Yeah, I hope so too.
Practical use. Well, it's been a real pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Pleasant to meet you too.
Thank you for watching this video.